2023, we did $8,000 in sales. 2024, we did $30,000. 2025, almost $1 million.
Wow. What changed that year?
And then this year, we'll do almost $2 million.
Rami Wehbi left family medicine residency with close to $500,000 in student debt and no clear path forward. That experience eventually became the foundation for MatchDay Health, a company that helps healthcare professionals move from clinical practice into non-clinical careers.
Our gross profit margin is around 60%.
Okay.
There's around 10 million healthcare professionals if you count all of
in the U.S.
Yeah.
That's so many people.
4 million nurses alone.
How much does it cost to acquire a customer? What's your customer acquisition cost?
Right now, it fluctuates between and
Wow, that's a lot.
yeah.
Now that you changed the business model, do you wish that you just bootstrapped it? Because you're cash flowing
I do.
a lot. Yeah.
Here's the thing. So our business was going to fail. We were going to run out of money and we weren't going to be able to raise again. But
Rami, welcome to How We Profit Wednesdays.
thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. I know you're based in Austin, so it was an easy trip out to the studio. And we're going to really be unpacking your business model today. I want to understand how MatchDay Health profits. So to begin, let us know what MatchDay is exactly. Like, what is the business today as it stands?
Yeah. So to put it simply, MatchDay Health, we are a career transformation company for healthcare professionals. So we help healthcare professionals build second careers, maybe even third careers. And in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Okay, cool. So you basically are helping healthcare practitioners transition into more of like a corporate career.
Correct. Yeah. So if you think about healthcare professionals, they start, their degrees when they're 18 years old, get into professional school, and then, they do that for a number of years, some 5 years, some 10 years. But what nobody thinks about is what do they do after that?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, healthcare profession careers have a ceiling, and you enter that career and you kind of stay at the same range for as long as you're in that career. A lot of healthcare professionals, when they're, maybe 5 years or 10 years in, start thinking about a second career.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do when you want a second career, or you want to grow, or you want to progress, or maybe you're burned out? The typical path has been going back to school or getting an MBA or getting more certifications or just staying in your same job forever. And so what we've created is a path now, or an off-ramp, so to speak, for healthcare professionals that doesn't require them to get additional schooling or certifications, but rather teaches them how to take their existing experience, repackage it, and enter into what we call non-clinical careers or just industry in general.
That's really cool. I actually come from a family of doctors. So my dad was a surgeon. He passed away. My 3 siblings are doctors. 2 of them are actually no longer doctors. One of them is an entrepreneur who works on all different things, like has a peptide business, had a medical device company. And my second oldest brother, he's a pediatric neurologist, and now he works in pharmaceuticals and research. And he's like a research director helping like cure pediatric epilepsy. So he still gets to work on his dream of helping with like pediatric brain issues. And he just does it in a different way. And so it's really cool that you're actually helping other medical professionals do something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually not that uncommon, especially nowadays with the way industry is growing, both on the pharma, life science side of things, but as well as health tech as well. It's becoming much more commonplace for clinicians to have that role that maybe isn't fully clinical or patient-facing. And, sometimes they start hybrid or part-time and then potentially becoming full-time.
Yeah. So this is a How We Profit episode. I've got to know, like, how do you actually sell?
Yeah. So we run, it's a career transformation fellowship. So we call it that because it's a comprehensive coaching program, and it takes people through a journey that we've developed now by doing this hundreds of times with clinicians. And so it's a $6,000 coaching program, and it's paid up front usually by our clients.
Okay, so it's $6,000 for the coaching program, and they're paying it all at once. How long is the program?
3 months.
3 months. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you're basically getting them ready, repackaging their experience, redesigning their LinkedIn profile, coaching them on how to do the interview. so that they can actually land a job.
Exactly. Yeah. And all the way through to landing the job, getting the offer, negotiating the offer, and even becoming part of our alumni system after that.
Okay, I want to get more into the nitty gritty of your business, but first let's get into your story because I think it's really cool that you basically turned your pain into a business, your own pain of transitioning from a medical, degree into the corporate world. You actually never became a doctor, right? So
I did actually.
you did.
Yeah.
Okay, well tell us the story. Tell us the story.
Yeah. So I'm Middle Eastern Lebanese, like you.
Mhm.
And you just mentioned to me, like, you have 3 brothers that are in medicine.
Yeah. 2 brothers and a sister, yeah.
2 brothers and a sister. So for our culture, it's very common to be encouraged to pursue the medical path. And for me growing up, our families, a lot of them came here as immigrants,
Mhm.
escaped war, tragedy, a lot of suffering. And so they came here looking for stability
Yeah.
and opportunity. And so our parents, their number one priority for us was to have stability, to have a great career. And it wasn't about our passions or what makes us happy or what we're good
Mhm.
at, right? They just wanted us to be secure and established
And
be able to
respected.
respected
Yeah.
and prestige and all that.
Mhm.
And so I think that's very common amongst our community
Mhm.
and many other communities as well. And so my idea growing up was that's the route I should take. And if I was going to do anything, I want to do something that I can be the best in. So obviously, if you become a doctor, that's a career path where you can be the top of your field or the best or respected
Mhm.
or that sort of thing. And so, you know, graduate high school, very vaguely decided I want to go down this medical career path. I had an interest in sports. I was injured one time, went to see an orthopedic surgeon, and I liked that experience. And so, without too much thought, I kind of just decided I'm going to go down the medical path and
Mm.
pursue that. And so I did it. I got good grades. I got into medical school. And my first 2 years of medical school, I did great. And it was when we started actually seeing what is it actually like being a doctor and
Mhm.
working in the clinics and preceptorships that I had like a huge shock. And I realized, oh no, I think I made a huge mistake. Uh, I don't think I want to do this at all.
Mm.
I want to say after it first happened, I thought it just would go away. And I thought, no, I'll just, find a specialty I like or something else. But that never really happened. I felt like as time went on, things just kept getting worse.
Mm.
And I kept feeling like this wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I almost actually didn't do residency at all. So I thought, okay, do I just drop out of medical school and then start something else? Well, now I'm $400,000 in student loan
Oh my
debt.
gosh.
And so I kind of felt pretty stuck and pigeonholed. And so I said, well, I'll do another year. I'll do a year of residency, see if it gets better. So I did that.
And you were at least getting paid, right? So
Yeah, you're getting
yeah.
paid a small amount. It's like $60,000 in residency. But yeah, you're at least getting paid. And also maybe I should just do residency,
Mhm.
get done, and have a stable career after that.
Mhm.
So I sucked it up for a year and did it. And then at the end of that year, I was super burned out. And I almost decided I was going to drop out then. I got cold feet and decided, all right, I'm going to do another year. So I did another year. Again, that was when COVID hit. It was about 2019. The burnout got so much worse. And it really started to feel like I was swimming upstream. I don't know if you've ever had this feeling where you're going in a direction in life and you're just resisting everything, the way life's trying to take you.
Mhm.
And that's the best way I can describe what I felt is like I was trying so hard to show up every day, enthusiastic, engaged, and trying to do what's right for my patients.
Mhm.
But the matrix of healthcare and the system and the hierarchy and all of it was just so soul sucking for me.
Mm.
And so it really felt like I was just swimming upstream and like it reached a point where I was like, I just can't do this every day anymore. And I just kind of like let go. And that's the best way to describe it. I just let go and I just started going with the tide. And when I did that, everything started to kind of fall into place for me. Uh, I dropped out of residency, so I talked to my program director. We had the heart to heart. We just talked it all out and
Mhm.
decided, hey, like I'm gonna put in my month's notice and I'm out. And that day was January 21st, 2021.
Wow. So I just want to pause here because your story reminds me of something that Gretchen Rubin talks about, which is this idea of drifting. So many people actually just drift into their careers. They drift into $400,000 of debt going into medical school or going to law school. They're doing it because they just feel like it's the next logical step. It's the right thing to do. Somebody else told them to do it. They're doing it with like no thought. And you were able to study, do well on your tests, get into residency. You could have completed residency. It was you who didn't want to continue on and do it. And so talk to us about the sunk costs that you felt with this $400,000 in debt.
It's so funny you mentioned that because I actually, at one point, I was writing a book called The Sunk Cost Fallacy. And I wanted to just talk about it because that was the biggest thing holding me back. I invested so much time, so much effort, so much money, and I felt really, truly stuck. And unfortunately, not too long ago, I heard of a medical student, a medical resident who had finished from the Caribbean, graduated with $600,000 in student loans, couldn't get into residency, ended up committing suicide. And so people feel so stuck when when you have that kind of it's like you're stuck in the matrix.
Yeah.
And people don't know how to look at that objectively and take themselves out of the situation and not just be drowning by it. And so for me, the sunk cost fallacy is really perspective shifting, because you can look at a situation and say this is doom and gloom, or you can look at it and say, well, what if I gave myself 3 years? What if I time boxed the situation to try and create something new? So I could just take some risks, so I could try something different, so that I could just start on a new path. And it's really just fear around all of the sunk costs. It's not really, it's not a real thing. It's something we perceive to be the case. And so you just have to remove yourself from it.
Something that I loved about your story actually was that you positioned, from my understanding, when you left residency, you were like, okay, this is my fellowship and I'm going to do like a 3-year business fellowship. Because you see all your friends who were in residency taking their fellowships, basically working for free, training, working for a low amount. And you're like, well, I could do the same thing, but in the business world and not feel so bad about it. And I thought that was a really great way to think about it.
Yep, exactly. That was exactly my mindset shift that allowed me to take on all that risk, because a lot of people thought me jumping out of residency with that much student loans without any real tangible path is just absolutely crazy. And I've always kind of been someone that's okay with risk. Like, I'm willing to take risks as long as they are calculated and as long as I feel internally that good about it. Like, I have to have conviction. And so for me in that position, I said, I'm going to give myself 3 years. And like you mentioned, a bunch of my friends were doing cardiology fellowships, GI fellowships, and all these different things. And they were taking a pay cut to do that. And I said, this is so stupid, because we're able to take a pay cut for someone else as long as it's some corporation or institution that tells us, hey, you have to do this for 3 years and do X, Y, and Z. And we're so willing to do that because it's the norm, because there's some institution making it normal. I said, well, why don't I just do that for myself? Why don't I give myself that permission?
I love this. I love this reframing. It's so good.
And I could easily make $60,000 or $70,000 a year, which is what you would make in a fellowship. And I'd say if I worked this hard, like 100 hours a week, which is what I was working in residency, at anything, I'm going to be successful. It's just I haven't done it yet. And so that was my commitment. I'm going to give myself 3 years. By the end of 3 years, I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to be making X amount of dollars. And if I haven't reached these goals by January 21st, 2024, I'll go back to school, I'll go back to residency, I'll do something else. And that was my commitment. And that was what allowed me to take just reframe everything and just not be so caught up in the fear or the drama or what people are going to think. Just, I'm going to go do my thing for the next 3 years and figure it out.
So what did you do first? I think you raised some money, right?
So the first idea was I'm going to go right into being an entrepreneur right off the bat.
No experience.
No experience at all. And so the idea I had was I wanted to build this shared co-working space for clinicians where they could work together and see patients and rent out space, almost like, like we were, but it's just for patient space.
So it's like private practice doctors can like share an office space, kind of like a medical center.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's more like hip. It's more like your average co-working space.
It's like a hip medical center.
Yeah, exactly. And clinicians can rent space like by the hour, by the day, or just permanently. And that was the idea. And it had its flaws at the time. And so for about 6 months, I was working on it. I was pitching to investors, trying to raise capital intensive project. It would have taken $2 million to stand up the first kind of full building and operations for a year. And so I pitched like 100 investors within that 6 months and raised $0.
$0.
$0. Yeah. And
nice.
Yeah. And basically at the end of that 6 months, I was like, okay, I'm running out of money. I got to do something. And that was my first failure. And it was a huge punch in the face for me because I had so much riding on me being successful after that. Because I was like, I just dropped out of residency. I'm doing this thing. But I felt like everybody was watching me. They obviously weren't.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had to prove myself. I had to do something big to be successful so that it could justify dropping out of residency.
Why do you think nobody gave you any money?
I think I just probably didn't have enough experience and it was a big risk for people.
Yeah.
Probably at the time. Like this is a first-time founder. And the environment I would say is very different today. Like what I'm seeing now in the venture world is lots of people are getting money and getting funded. But it wasn't a tech business. It was almost like a real estate business. And I'm someone without any real estate experience, don't have a co-founder. And I don't think I had built enough trust to
and maybe even the upside wasn't enough. Like
yeah. So there are multiple reasons. I just don't think that I took the swing and I think I learned a lot through that.
Yeah.
It taught me how to pitch. It taught me how to build a pitch deck and tell a story and what investors want to see. And so even though it didn't work out, I learned so much from it and it gave me the confidence to go and do my next thing. It could be for many reasons. I think I remember the feedback was just, you're going to need so much money and there's no way to scale this and you don't even have anybody signed up yet.
Okay, so that didn't work out. And then you were like, I'm going to go actually get experience at a startup. You went to a startup, right?
Actually, before that, I moved back to Michigan. I had to get a real job. I had earned my medical license. So technically, when you have a license, you can still practice. So I had an unrestricted license, wasn't board certified, but it allowed me to go work in the urgent care, which is what I did. Worked in the urgent care for a little bit, made enough money to, pay my bills. And then I was actively pursuing my next thing, which was trying to get into health tech. Figured, hey, I'm not ready to be an entrepreneur yet. Let me go work with a startup founder, work in a startup, do something that I'm potentially passionate about and see what happens. And so it was about 9 months and I caught a break, which actually brought me here to Austin, Texas. And that was my first health tech opportunity.
So you did this health tech opportunity and then on the side, you started to build your next business.
Correct. Yeah. So I actually landed another opportunity after that. So did that one for about 6 months, landed another opportunity. And during that time, I was getting so many clinicians asking me, hey, Rami, I want to pivot too. How did you do it? Can you show me where you're finding these jobs? And that was around the time that I realized, well, it's not really about a job board. It's not about, just finding the jobs. You have to go through an entire transformation. You have to rebrand yourself, tell your skills in a different way, go through this identity crisis because it can be a lot to process, from thinking about yourself as a doctor to now thinking of yourself as someone who's an operator. And so I had to kind of figure out how do I tell people or show people really that there's a lot to bridge here and just applying or finding the opportunities isn't actually going to solve the problem.
And so while you were working in corporate, you also started a podcast, right?
I did, yeah. So actually while I was in medical school, I started the podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was in 2017.
Okay.
I was doing my first few episodes on Skype. And because Zoom wasn't even around then and it was just so early.
Yeah.
And so it was called Beyond Medicine. And what I did was I would interview physicians that were famous on social media, ask them what they're doing beyond medicine, what they're doing with their social media platforms.
No wonder you left. You got all this inspiration from all these other people who had left medicine.
Yeah. So I had that entrepreneurial bug, and I was actually making money from my podcast during medical school and residency. Was selling T-shirts and all these other things. And it wasn't a lot, but it was a small business for me at the time. And so, yeah, that did trigger my inspiration. And I think looking back, I was always interested in that. But yeah, that was my first podcast, and I grew it through influencers at the time, which was kind of like a new thing.
So you ended up starting MatchDay. Talk to us about what was the first iteration of the MatchDay concept?
Yeah, so I started MatchDay in 2023. So the first iteration of that was we were doing a startup, and we went and actually pitched the idea that we want to build like the Tinder for doctor jobs and build a matching platform that helps physicians and other clinicians land jobs in a better way. And so we raised about $1 million in capital from investors, angel investors, and we started building the platform. And it started that way, and then it just evolved from there into something completely different.
Okay, so it started as a Tinder for doctors. Why don't you think that worked? Why didn't you continue building that? Did it ever launch?
We never actually launched it, no. So we spent money on, hiring the right team, engineers, building the tech stack, and then doing sales and finding partnerships. And so we were looking to partner with hospital systems, and we were talking to hospital systems. And, at the time we were burning about like $30,000 a month, which is not that much for a startup. I think it's pretty lean actually for a startup. But still, we were burning that capital every month. We were spending money on engineers to build the tech stack. And that was before Claude and all of that came about. And it was all really expensive. And so come, the end of 2023 going to 2024, I started to realize we're going to burn through all of our capital before we even have our first partnership signed. And, for anybody familiar with selling to hospital systems or B2B, those life cycles can take a year and a half. And we didn't have that time as a startup, as a small startup. We were going to burn through that capital. We were going to go back to investors and ask to raise, and they were going to ask us, well, what do you have? What's your revenue? And how much have you grown? And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall at some point that we're going to run out of money, and we're going to still be trying to get this one pilot on. And it was keeping me up at night.
Yeah.
And I knew I'm going to have to go back to my investors and say, hey, this whole business has failed and I'm really sorry. And I just couldn't live with that. And it was I just remember I woke up at 3 a.m. one night, and I was just sitting there, and I was just so stressed out. I just had my hands and my head in my palms, and I was just thinking what am I going to do? This business cannot fail. I'm not going to go back to my investors and say that we failed. And so I just prayed that night. I was like, God, show me a way that I can take this business and open up that path for us. Very next day, I go to LinkedIn and I post on LinkedIn, just kind of like a hunch, an intuition to see how people would respond to it. And I say, if you're a healthcare professional and you want to go and land a non-clinical job, comment on this post, we can help you do it. It went viral.
Nice.
I think 200,000 impressions, got 1,000 comments, and everybody that commented just said I don't know, comment career or something. But we got all these people commenting and filling out the form, and I hired a VA to just reach out to every single person. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is something people actually want.
Yeah.
It's something that I know really well. Maybe we pivot the business to this and just help all of these people that so desperately want to change actually land a job and pivot. And so the lesson I learned from that was I fell in love with the solution in the very beginning. I had this idea to build a tech company, to be a startup founder, to do something cool in health tech and help with job matching. That was the dream. That was the goal. That was what I was going to do. We were building tech. And then what I realized is I fell in love with the wrong thing. I fell in love with something that was make-believe that people didn't really want, and if they did want, it was gonna take forever to actually build.
Mm.
And I went to falling in love with the problem.
Yep.
So many of these doctors and clinicians, they didn't really care about clinical jobs. They didn't care about another tech solution to help them because recruiters were reaching out to them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They had a ton of options, and it wasn't a real like major problem for them.
Yeah.
Instead, they were wanting to build new careers, get their life back, land better jobs, not feel stuck like I was feeling stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a huge pain, and there was no solution.
Yep.
So basically, I fell in love with the problem of figuring that out and figuring out how do I actually help them in this area.
Is that when you funneled everybody to a Slack community from that post?
From that post, we took everybody and put them into a CRM. So we had a little form, had them fill it out,
Okay.
went to a CRM, and then we just started calling everybody one by one, emailing them and setting up appointment times to basically see if they were willing to work with us to help them land a job.
And what was your first offer?
The first offer, that's a good question because it evolved into what it is now. So the first iteration of this was because we didn't have any social proof or any track record, it was a contract. So you would work with us, we would invest in you, basically, and help you land a job. And after you land a job, you would sign the agreement would say you would pay us 1% of your first year's salary.
Mm.
And so it was like 7% or something like that.
Did people actually do it?
Yeah. So in the first iteration of that, it was we took on all the risk. We paired them with a coach. We helped them land a job, and people started paying us, if they landed a $100,000 job, $7,000. But that came with its issues and problems. That's why we ended up pivoting to the model we have now.
I read that you had a Slack community.
We did. That was a Beyond Medicine group.
Okay, that was from the podcast
from
back
the podcast,
then.
yeah.
Okay. Did any of those people end up becoming clients later on, or that was like long gone?
I think so, yeah. There were people that I knew through that community that ended up being clients, but it wasn't a huge percentage of them.
I asked that because actually my company, Yap Media, basically started as a Slack channel.
Yeah.
I basically had fans that would reach out to me that loved the podcast, and they were like, how can I help? And I started a volunteer team in Slack, and that turned into my whole company now, and we're making like almost $10 million a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And before I took the leap on MatchDay, we tried so many ways to. So first it was a community. It was called Beyond Medicine Group. It was off the podcast. I charged $99 a year to become a member, and I grew it to like 300 people. And at the time, I started, getting 3 or 4 signups every single day. So it was like $400 every day coming in, going into the Slack community. And that was when I realized, I was like, oh, I can actually leave my job and pay my rent and start building this. And so the second iteration of Beyond Medicine Group was MatchDay Health. So we started it as a community in a way, but we were trying to like tell the story of like it can be so much bigger than that.
Yeah, let's pause there for a second. So basically you're saying that when you were working at the startup, that's when you started the Slack community, and then that side hustle gave you the funds to then become an entrepreneur or just try new business ideas. Is that right?
It gave me the confidence because I started to see like I was getting, 3 or 4 signups every single day. And I was VP of clinical operations for an AI startup. And I was learning a lot. I enjoyed it, but my goal in my head was always like, think back to the fellowship.
Yeah.
I have 3 years to do this. I was coming up on year 2 almost. So I was like, I got to figure this out now and start planting those seeds. And so once it got to a point where I was like, I can just pay my bills. Now, even if it was just like making $3,000 a month, I was like, I'm willing to take that risk. And as soon as Beyond Medicine Group, which is now MatchDay, hit that point, I was like, all right, I'm all in.
First iteration, like we were saying, was basically like a recruiter model, right? You get somebody a job, they give you a percentage of their first year's salary. What is the model now?
The model now is it's paid up front by the client. And so in the recruiter model, the recruiters work for companies and they get paid when they match someone. So it's like you having your own personal recruiter, but they're not really a recruiter. They're a coach. They're invested in your success.
Okay.
They're invested in you getting a job. That's obviously something you would have to pay for to have that white glove service. And so the fellowship now it's a coaching program. and it's paid up front by the client.
And you call it a fellowship.
Yeah.
So basically, it's these medical professionals. It was doctors just at first, and now you've widened it up to nurses and other types of. Who can do it? What are the types of professionals?
Pretty much any healthcare professional, anybody with a clinical background, from medical assistants to physical therapists to nurses, PAs, NPs, doctors, pretty much anyone who's built their career around a healthcare profession and is looking to make a career transition. And so going something non-clinical in industry, mainly, our focus is health tech and life science.
So now what is the most recent offer? What is it exactly?
So it's a 3-month fellowship and it's $6,000.
Okay, 3-month fellowship, $6,000. How many clients do you have typically?
Every month we sign up around, it could vary like between 20 and 40.
Okay.
So yeah, around that number. And, active, we have about 150 fellows.
The hard part about that model is that every 3 months you need new customers, right? It's like kind of like a leaky bucket. So have you thought about how to extend lifetime value?
Yeah, that's something I've actually thought about a lot. And it actually used to be a 6-month fellowship, but we did it was 6 months for a year, and then we condensed it down to 3 months because a lot of the value and just the refinement of the program, we were able to get a lot of that down to 3 months. But yes, it's it's kind of like the high ticket space. You always have that problem of having to chase new revenue. And we've thought about different ways where we can continue to support people beyond 3 months. We haven't really figured out what is right for our clients and what's actually going to be a good business model to invest in yet. Right now, it's just a variation of different upselling opportunities. So extension beyond 3 months or, I think that's the next stage we want to figure out.
Yeah, it's like what happens after 3 months? How does this person still keep? Because, your best customers are your existing customers, as most
100%.
people know. Let's talk about your customers for a little bit. You started with doctors. The problem with doctors is that they basically have golden handcuffs, right? They get paid a decent amount of money. I can tell my brother's story because his story was actually like really positive. So he was a pediatric neurologist. He was making like $300,000 a year more. Very busy. He has 2 kids, 2 young kids. He used to get so stressed out if they got sick because both him and his wife were in healthcare. So it's like they'd have to cancel patients. And it was like very difficult for them to handle anytime a kid was sick. He would have neighbors who would be like eating lunch in the middle of the day. He never could do that. He used to have to take calls at 2 a.m. And then he was just like, I love my job. It's rewarding. It's very rewarding to have patients be grateful and everything like that. It's like instant reward. But he just wanted a better lifestyle. And so he just, figured it out and went on LinkedIn and started at, one company, then kept moving his way up. And now he has an amazing job. He's making like almost double the amount of money.
That's awesome.
And I'm sure in the beginning he was making just about the same. But for other doctors, that's not necessarily the case. Like they might have to take a pay cut. And I think those are the golden handcuffs that they have, right?
Absolutely. And it's actually one of the things we realized as we started progressing. We actually moved away from really marketing to physicians at all. And we focused on the healthcare professionals that were earning between $80,000 and $150,000 because for them, they could make a career transition horizontally and still earn the same amount of money or maybe a little bit more. And so the career pivot for them just made so much more sense. Whereas like you mentioned, physicians earn a lot higher incomes. And so they're not necessarily willing to go into like a mid to entry level job, which is the case for most physicians. Like if you wanted to do a career transition, you probably need to take a pay cut. But not for all. Many can pivot into pharma like your brother and actually earn more money. But I'm sure for your brother, it was actually really difficult to have to figure that out on his own and, navigate that entire process.
I remember it was very difficult for him. And it was kind of like he got lucky. He got like a big break, There was like one specific company that needed a pediatric neurologist and there's not that many in the world. And you know what I mean? So he had to like find the exact opportunity that was a fit for him and then kind of navigate his way. But it worked out. He's so much happier, and ultimately you spend so much of your life working that you want to be happy. So what kind of jobs, like for all the nurses, there's so many nurses in the world and medical assistants. For everybody tuning in, what kind of job opportunities are really out there for people who have medical degrees that are not clinical?
There's such a wide variation, and I'm honestly always surprised because I see a new job title out there and I'm like, oh, another new job that could be for
Yeah.
clinicians. But they're not really marketed for clinicians. They're marketed for people with X, Y, and Z background. They always say or healthcare background preferred or something along those lines.
Hmm.
So I'd say it falls into four main categories. The first one is probably sales being the big category. I would put customer success under there, account executive, account manager, medical device sales, pharma sales.
Mm.
So anything in that category I would put there, maybe even MSL or medical affairs.
One of my best friends just reminded me she was a nurse,
Mhm.
so smart, so bright. She went to medical device sales. She's making so much money now.
Yeah.
She's crushing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sales is definitely, and I love sales, and it's probably like I encourage people to learn sales and like get into sales as much as possible because it's such a good skill to learn.
Hmm.
But it's definitely also got the highest ceiling and highest earning potential
Yeah.
potentially. So sales is one of them. I put operations maybe on the second category. That can include clinical operations, coordination, program management, project management.
Mm.
Product management as well is a very popular one. There's just so many that different job titles that can fall under that. I would say a third category is education or content writing. And then the fourth category would be the consulting or strategy side of things.
Mm. So, in terms of like costs of delivering all these services, you have coaches, and it sounds like you've had coaches from like almost the very beginning. So, how do you find these coaches? How do you vet these coaches? How do you pay these coaches? How big of a cost is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two full-time coaches. They're our program directors, and we pay them a full salary.
Okay. So it's
And
not per client, it's salary based.
it's salary based for the program directors.
Okay.
And these are super experienced coaches, Chanel and Jenny. They're wonderful.
Mm.
And they basically built out the entire program for us. And they did all of the hiring and the recruiting. And so we've got about 15, I want to say 15 contractor coaches at the moment. And so they just step in as needed. We have so many different clients and they have different schedules. And so we need a lot of availability that's flexible for our clients.
Got it.
And so we rely on contractors to support kind of like outside of our two main coaches as jobs.
I could imagine that could be very difficult. Quality control,
Yeah.
reliability, and also with a service like this that's high ticket, you've got to really deliver for your customers. And if you've got
Yeah.
like one bad review on Reddit, it could crush everything, right?
Absolutely. We spent and really for me, like I wanted to build the best program. And to do something like that, you have to hire the best people. And so my first two hires, like we really just spent like so much time interviewing, talking to the right people, asking for referrals. And that was the big difference maker because they really built the bulk of the program.
Mm.
And when you hire people who are A plus, they hire other people who are A plus.
Yeah.
That is so important in program delivery because, you know, when your clients are happy, like you said, if you even have one bad review, it can hurt your business. And thankfully for us, like we've got, I think, 4.7 on Trustpilot, all 5-star reviews, and all of our clients have been super happy so far. And if there ever haven't been, we just go above and beyond to like make it right or help them in whatever way we can. And that's so important.
So with a $6,000 fee for the coaching program, how much profit do you make off that with all the different expenses from the coaches, from your team? You have like a pretty small like executive team, like
Yeah.
5 people or something like that. How much profit do you
Well, our gross profit margin is around 60%, or
Okay, that's
55
pretty
to
good.
60%. And then our net profit margin, it just really depends for us on how much we're reinvesting back into the business or spending on marketing.
Yeah.
But that could be around, you know, I'd say 20%, 30%.
So how do you get your customers today?
So today the main channel is obviously paid. So,
Okay.
So
Why is that obvious?
I think for the high ticket space, it's actually pretty common that a lot of people are doing Meta. But we've actually been also getting a lot of referrals. So, you know, I think that's been becoming much more common now that we're more established. People have heard about us and we've got a lot more fellows who have gone through the program.
Mm-hmm.
So referrals and then organic as well. My Instagram, my LinkedIn, the company page.
This podcast.
Yeah, this podcast, hopefully, which I need to do more of and tell my story.
Yeah, you need to do more podcasts. Well, I don't know. You had a podcast. I was like, he probably does
I
like
usually
a fairly
like
amount of.
interviewing.
Okay. I was thinking you might be doing a fair amount of podcasts
Well,
if you
let me
had a
ask you this:
podcast.
do you like being interviewed or do you like being the interviewer?
I like being interviewed when I have something to say. So if I have like a new course and I've got all this material in my head, or if I just had a new webinar and I've got all these ideas, but I hate being interviewed when like I don't have anything new going on because then I just feel like boring, you know? So I'm not doing interviews until I launch my book, which I'm in the progress of writing. So once I have my book out, I'll save all my favors for them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about paid ads meta. I tried paid ads once. I get all my clients through referrals, essentially. So I have a social media podcast agency and I have a podcast network. Most of my clients actually are guests on the podcast, and then they just become my client.
All right, sign me up.
I basically designed this podcast that way. Yeah, I could definitely help you with like podcast appearances and all. I have so many different services that people that come on my show want those types of like LinkedIn management, Instagram, podcast production, monetization of their channels, all that kind of stuff. So I've designed a really cool like lead gen engine. And then also we grow our brand really wide so that when my team does outreach, like everybody knows about my podcast and the media. And even if they don't come on my podcast, like the brand gets us in and we don't have to do really any paid other than like how much it costs to do like outbound email. So we never do paid ads. I did it once and it totally flopped. But I didn't try hard enough. So what was your experience with paid ads? Like what was like some of your first campaigns? Like what is working for you?
Yeah. So, well, when we started off, we started with like a super low ad spend to just get leads and talk to them and learn. And then we had to figure out, you know, is what we're offering here something they want? And so in the beginning, we were offering basically kind of like, it was kind of like a no-brainer. Like we were taking on all the risk. We were letting you sign up for, I think it was like $500 to sign up for 3 months, get coaching, and then you only have to pay us when you actually get a job. And so we just had such low risk, it was such a no-brainer offer that we would just talk to people and they'd say, okay, you're going to take on all the risk. And then we'd help them get jobs and pivot and actually be successful. And then they would actually be so grateful they would pay us. And so in the beginning, we're just spending like a low amount on Meta, maybe a couple $1,000s a month. And then once people started landing jobs, we realized, oh, okay, this works, great. But it came to a point where cash flow became the constraint. And so the model we were doing wasn't actually a good model because it just delayed cash flow. And then for whatever reason, sometimes people wouldn't be able to pay or they'd have to pay it over a longer period of time.
Yeah, how would you even like prove it? Or I guess you had a contract, but like you're not going to go spend legal fees for $7,000. It would cost the same amount to take it to court, right? So.
Exactly. So for that reason, we pivoted the model. We collected the cash up front, which allows us to cash flow the business and grow it. And so, you know, it reached a point where when we were closing 5 or 6 a month, we started to increase the ad spend. And then at one point, we changed the model, made it all up front. We started hiring a sales team, setters and closers, and then it just kind of started growing from there.
You know what I would do if I was trying to grow your business?
Tell me.
Webinars.
We do that now.
You do webinars? I mean, I would focus on growing your personal brand because this is a topic that there's so many medical professionals in the world. How big is the market? Like how many medical professionals are there?
There's around 10 million healthcare professionals if you count all of
the U.S.
Yeah, if you count all of the allied health and like support staff and that.
That's so many people.
4 million nurses alone in the US.
And it's like, it's very targetable on LinkedIn. So you could be searching different titles and then DMing people, inviting them to your free educational webinar, and then mass closing them. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do. I would be like, find every single nurse and every single medical assistant and invite them to this free webinar, give them an hour of great content, and then close them in mass.
I actually do want to pick your brain about that because I totally agree.
Pick my brain right now. Let's do it.
Well, I guess, so I've been doing a webinar every week now.
Yeah.
So I have it on my personal LinkedIn page.
Okay.
And I did it because, one, we've done supplemental webinars. So all of our leads that don't close or pay on the call, we send them link. come to the free webinar. If you're not convinced yet.
And the best thing about Zoom webinars is you can collect their email and their phone number when they sign up. So if they sign up once, you've got their email to retarget them over
exactly.
and over.
Yeah. And so we do all the retargeting, and it builds trust, really. And that's the biggest thing, because when people want to spend $6,000, like, they really want to know they can trust you.
And you can't build trust off a paid ad. That's why it flopped for me, because on social, people would follow me for years, and I'd sell something. They have like years of content and trust. On a paid ad, they have no idea who I am. So paid ad to webinar is always the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to, and I'd love to get your opinion on having those be paid webinars versus free. Free for all of them.
Free. And I know a lot about webinars. I've interviewed like Russell Brunson about it, Jason Fladline about it. I've done maybe 200 webinars myself.
Oh, wow.
So what you want to do on a webinar is you want to give free educational content, but you do not want to give too much. You don't want to overwhelm. So you want to tell your own hero story, which you've got a really great hero story, right? So you actually were your own customer. Like you have the experience to help them because you went through the same thing. So you want to go through something called a hero story. And like, that's the first 15 minutes of the webinar, is you just inspiring them with your hero story, making them feel relatable to you, of the same, you had the same pain points. And then you are establishing your credibility of like how many people you've gotten jobs so far, how you turned it around, and like how you just like want to give back and help them now make their own transition.
Right.
Then you give them like a promise of like, by the end of this webinar in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to help you do X, Y, and Z. And you pick like 5% or even 2% of what you would teach them in the coaching program. One nugget that they can walk away with and like implement, or like that's actually meaningful, and like walk them through like a framework. And then if they want more, you tell them the offer and you give them like an incentive to actually buy then. So in the next 24 hours, you get a 20% discount, or, use this promo code or whatever it is. And you give them like some sort of offer at the end.
Yes.
And then there's like camaraderie and people chatting. You can invite your past students to give you shout outs and even come on and talk about their experience. And you can get really creative. And so it's a great way to mass sell. And especially for something like this, where there's so many people. If it was like something really niche, I wouldn't recommend this. But because there's so many people that would be interested and there's so much to teach, like you could just do it about like how to be confident in your interview or something,
You're spot on. And that's actually such good advice. And we made the mistake, I think, of over teaching in some of our webinars, where we go too deep in like how to actually do something. It's like so valuable.
Yeah, you don't want to go too deep.
Whereas like then they just want to go and do it on their own.
Or they get scared and they're
they
like,
get scared.
Oh, this is way too much. This is way too much work. You want to just talk about the outcome and like not how hard it's going to be and all the work, right?
100%.
So just like a couple small things that like you want to teach them and take them away to build that trust and like to get them feeling like, okay, this is the company that I want to work with. If I got this for free, I can't imagine what it would be if I paid for it.
Right.
Yeah. And then case studies of all the success that you've had, like all the credibility, because you've actually helped a lot of people land jobs. So you've got something that other people don't have, which is like proof points.
Totally. Yeah. And I think social proof has definitely been like the biggest thing for us, is both on the paid side as well. Like our best ads are social proof. And then the more we can sprinkle it in on our website and our socials, it's always like really boosted our sales.
Yeah. So you actually have a pretty decent email list, right?
We do. We've got about 18,000.
Nice. How did you get those emails?
Yeah, paid.
Paid ads.
Paid ads mostly, and probably organic, just website visits. We've invested a lot in SEO.
Yeah,
just
that's smart.
Being kind of like this unique brand in healthcare for career transitions. I do believe we're the market leader. I don't think there's anybody else in terms of like quality or scale that's this niche providing this type of solution for healthcare professionals. And so when people search non-clinical careers or pivoting, we usually come up, and we're the first kind of, place people usually learn about these sort of things. But that's been a big driver of growth for us in collecting emails. And I will say, I still think we're kind of a baby company, because we spent our first year, 2023, we did $8,000 in sales. Nothing. 2024, we did $30,000. 2025, we did almost $1 million.
Wow. What
Yeah.
changed
Yeah.
that year?
The entire model.
Yeah. Okay. That's when you pivoted
Yeah.
the model. Okay.
And then this year we'll do, almost 2 million.
That's great. How much does it cost to acquire a customer? What's your customer acquisition cost?
Right now, it fluctuates between $1,200 and $2,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm so lucky. I get all my customers for free.
Yeah, you are lucky.
I get paid. I get paid to have my customers because I get paid for a podcast.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty common in the industry for these high ticket programs.
Yeah.
There's so much you got to separate the signal from the noise, and you just have to talk to the right people. And yeah, so I don't like giving Mark Zuckerberg all of our money, but unfortunately, it's the way, right now we're building brand awareness and it's been profitable. So we have around a 4 to 5x ROAS at the moment. So it works.
Yeah.
It's just not ideal.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Organic is so good. But to your point, it's like it's working. You're profitable. You can just keep pushing at it and scaling it that way and just maximizing the effectiveness of your meta ads campaigns. But organic, what are you working on? I know you mentioned SEO. Are you doing anything with AI, like AEO?
So yes, our agency is actually building our AEO strategy and all of that. And so it goes along with like building the FAQs and the SEO and all of that. So we have like 10 blog posts going out every week to build our SEO strategy and get in search engines. But we're also doing, and this is the part I'm most excited about, we used to have to hire a social media manager to basically run our Instagram. And right now, we're able to put out 10 times the volume through Claude and through building frameworks and skills, and then running ManyChat automations from our posts. So
nice.
We're getting hundreds of comments on our posts every single week that lead to nurturing funnels, career assessment quizzes, webinars, all these different things. And that's boosted our sales I'd say 20%.
Okay. Unpack this.
Yeah.
So is that like many different Instagram channels that you guys are just like kind of like clipping?
No, it's the MatchDay Health Instagram page.
Okay, it's one Instagram page. Yeah. And what are you saying? Like Claude's helping you come up with content?
Yeah, carousels have just been major for us. So the way carousels work is it goes mainly to your followers first. And so because we spend so much, we spend around $1,000 a day in meta ads. And we get a lot of followers on our Instagram. We're also running organic posts. All those people follow our Instagram and probably lurk for a long time. And so through these carousels, we do a lot of education about non-clinical jobs, about careers, about what they can land, because this is a space that requires a lot of education. People still don't know enough about it. And so we get, people to comment, there's the automations, and then they can go into our newsletter or book a call with our team. And we've just seen a huge bump in our organic sales every month. And it's just been like a huge supplement to our paid meta ads.
Let me give you a tip. Take all your best performing carousels and make them trial reels.
Interesting.
And then my Instagram has been blowing up from trial reels. Last week I had a video that had 1 million views, 500,000 views, 300, huge videos. And each video is giving me 3,000 followers. It is crazy. I'm about to grow really fast on Instagram. And the thing that wins is actually the topics. It's what is getting people to comment and have a conversation. Yeah. So you have all this data now of all the carousels that generated comments and conversation. Turn those into reels. Take each idea and do it 5 times.
Yeah.
5 different hooks, or switch up the video because you can't upload the same video, and do 5 trial reels a day of the same concept, and just do that every day. And I guarantee you it's going to pop off.
Yeah.
So basically Instagram is—
Hear that, Andrew?
Yeah.
Get on this.
Instagram is basically pushing trial reels to followers, and especially because you've trained your word cloud of your Instagram page of all the keywords that you use. Instagram knows what you talk about because you guys have been consistent in your topics. Right. So your trial reels are going to go to people who want that, and basically if you have 1 or 2 of your trial reels that are doing well, as people are scrolling, they're just going to get fed your next video. It's just really awesome, and it's It's kind of like I've never seen this much traction on Instagram for like brand new accounts or like not super popular accounts. Like for my clients, it's working really well. So like definitely lean into trial reels.
Interesting. I'd love to ask you, like, I'm guessing you have a team that works with you on your social media. How much of a hand do you have in like the strategy or, pushing them to do certain things?
Well, I'm a busy woman, but like at 11 p.m. at night, I'm always checking like my YouTube, my Instagram, and like giving everybody feedback. I am involved in the strategy and setting the higher level strategy. Like, what do we want to focus on? What features do we want to use? But my team, I have like a big team, and my team is really like drafting the nitty-gritty content. We've got like a B-roll library of like approved videos and approved photos, so I don't always have to like approve every single little thing. And then anything super personal I review, like if it's like a Mother's Day post or a post about my boyfriend, then like I want them to be the one writing that, So it's like I work on those. But other than that, my team is basically doing like everything. And I basically have like monthly social media meetings, biweekly content brand team meetings where we're talking about YouTube, podcast, everything, And so I'm always directing my team. I think a big part of my job is just directing everyone, but not the nitty gritty day to day of like, this is the post we're going to post today,
Yeah. Not to hijack your show, but
no, go for it.
I'm curious.
I'm sure the listeners want to know.
Well, I'm curious, like, what do you exactly mean by directing? Are you like supporting or like setting the vision for them, or more so, showing them what to do or that sort of thing?
I have so many things going on. So to kind of break down like all the different like areas of my brand, right? So I have my podcast, which is like audio and YouTube. And like we're really focused on growing YouTube. Then we have LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, email.
Yeah.
And in a bi-weekly meeting, I've got my whole team on. It's like 20 people on. And everybody's got their work stream and reporting out on like what they did this week, what they did last week, and then they're telling me what they're doing. And I'm like, okay, like I noticed this mistake, or I want this guest on the show, or like with trial reels, like let's just focus on the biggest guests, not the most recent guests, and let's just lean into that. Or because I'm really like hands on in terms of like I'm looking at every comment that's going on my page, and like I'm really looking at it every day so that in the meeting with my team, I can bring up like, hey, I saw we're doing this. I don't want to do that anymore or whatever. But basically everybody's like, there's like somebody responsible for every like area, if that makes sense.
It's almost like you're distilling all of the insights too, because you're seeing what's working, what's moving. And then
they're telling me like we grew this much, or like we went viral here. I'm learning new things too. Like, oh, TikTok grew 10K. I didn't know that. Like, you know what I mean? So that's how I get my information, because there's just so much going on. And
very cool.
Okay, back to you. So MatchDay, what about the tools that you're using? What technology are you using to run this all? Like, how do people like schedule time with their coach? How do you monitor coaching calls and things like that?
Yeah, and so this is the part I love, and it's probably so relevant for someone who's starting a business or, wanting to start their own business, is you can start with off-the-shelf tools for everything. And what I mean by that is like Google Drive, Notion, Slack, Gmail, obviously, all these different off-the-shelf tools, subscriptions. We have a ton of subscriptions that we use, but we don't have any of our own tech stack right now that we use. We actually built it in the very first year, and it was useless. And it's actually not great, and it was super expensive and doesn't help the users. But users,
you made your own platform. Got it.
Yeah. And it wasn't very effective, because at the end of the day, people just need the tools that they need, and they actually like using the tools they're already familiar with. Slack, Notion, Google Drive, all these things. And so we really just use off-the-shelf tools for everything. Slack is our community, so we still have the community.
Okay.
It's 1,000+ members now.
Nice.
That's for job boards. We have hiring managers posting in there. All of the coach communications, like the asynchronous ones, happen on Slack between the fellow and their coach. And that's the community Slack. And then we have our team Slack, which is all our internal operations. Notion is basically set up for all of the resources, all of the guides, all of the videos that are supplementary, all of the tools that we use, different AI search tools that we set our clients up with. And then we have our tracker in there for tracking jobs, etc. And then we also use it for internal operations as well, whether it's marketing or, setting up a CRM for different objectives and KPIs for the month, that sort of thing. And then Google Drive for connecting with fellows. The coaches use that a lot.
In terms of like how your team is structured, when you raised that $1 million, did they take equity?
Yeah, so we raised it on a safe note.
Okay, what's that mean?
So safe is it's a YC designed kind of tool or vehicle for collecting cash from angel investors.
Okay.
So it's basically a promise to give equity when there's a price round or something that would trigger an equity conversion. So you typically raise it on a cap. So it's either a pre-money valuation or a post-money valuation. So we raised it on a $10 million valuation cap.
Okay.
But it's not real equity yet. So we raised from angel investors, and at the time we were building or planning to build a venture-backed business.
Yeah.
And so those investors have kind of like that promise of like, when we do convert the equity or when there's a price round, their shares would convert into actual equity.
So you didn't pay them back yet?
So I wouldn't say we didn't pay them back yet. We actually are in the process of converting all of our existing first investors into equity.
Got it.
Yeah. So because
and how much equity will you have to give up?
It's about 20% of our business.
Got it. That's a lot, but you got $1 million to start the business, and that was helpful.
Yeah, and you always want to do right by your investors, especially like the first people that invested in you. For me, it's like the relationships are way more important than the money. So I'd rather give away more and like do right by our investors than like have them wondering like, hey, what happened to my money or that sort of thing.
Now that you changed the business model, do you wish that you just bootstrapped it? Because you're cash flowing
I do.
a lot. Yeah.
I do, but I didn't. Here's the thing. We actually did something. So our business was going to fail in 2023. We were going to run out of money and we weren't going to be able to raise again. But that was where I was like, whatever we turn this business into, I wanted to really do right by our investors and the people that took a risk on us and like not make this just a failed business.
Yeah.
And so instead of just going back to them and saying, hey, sorry, the business failed and starting this other thing, which I really could have done, we didn't. And we turned MatchDay into this business that it is now.
So you could have like folded the other company completely and then been like, sorry, guys, you took the risk. I'm out. Yeah. But instead you didn't. So do you have to communicate anything to these investors? Do they have any sort of like say over anything, or do you communicate them at a certain
To some degree, when they're angel investors and they're, on a safe, they don't really have that kind of say. I did always put out like quarterly investor updates, sharing how the business is doing, what's happening, where we're growing. And I still do that even now. But they don't really have a say because they don't, once you get to like the seed stage or Series A and then they have a board seat, then that becomes a different story. And also you're taking on a lot more capital at that stage versus our stage was just individual angel investors.
All right, so we're going to do a SWOT analysis.
Oh, no. All right.
What do you think your biggest strengths are as a company right now?
As a company, our biggest strengths are marketing and operations. So we have a very strong program, very high quality, high caliber coaches. So from a program fulfillment side, like we're super strong. And also from a marketing side of things, I think we've just done a really good job of establishing ourselves as like the leader in the space for career transitions.
Speaking of success, what is your success rate for actually helping people get a job?
So we track success over a 6-month period. So within 6 months, 80+% of our fellows will actually land a job. The average time to offer last quarter, it was 88 days. Right now, it's about 112. So it slowed down a bit because of the market slowed down, but we're also going into like September, October, which is peak hiring season. So hopefully that number will speed up again too.
And in terms of like capacity with your coaches, like, are you looking at it like we've got X amount of coaches, we have this much capacity for clients, and we're this much underfilled? Like, how are you like monitoring your goals?
We have an update every single week, so a weekly operations update, and we kind of have a percentage of capacity. So we have a percentage of capacity that kind of floats around. So anytime we're above 70%, we start thinking of hiring. When we know we're ready to scale, we'll start thinking about additional contractors. We'll start interviewing and preparing for that process. But typically above 80% that's kind of like yellow flag, and above 90 is like, okay, we got to figure this out ASAP because we're bringing on new clients all the time, and so we might run out of capacity in that stage. And we never want our fulfillment to be the bottleneck.
How much is your founder's story a strength at this point? Do you feel like it's grown beyond you?
I think our business could do well without me, and I think it would probably do the same amount of revenue with or without me. Maybe, for me, it's really been the trust factor because it's my story.
Yeah.
And it's just, to establish the business and get it off the ground, it's really helped. But now I think MatchDay carries its own weight. It's got social proof. It's got strong marketing, strong brand. We want to still kind of, take me, the key man, out of the business. It's like I want to run MatchDay forever. I love the business. But I don't want to be the main risk to the business. If I ever can't do something or be, doing the ads or anything like that, I don't want the business reliant on me or my personal brand. I really want it to stand on its own two legs.
Are you doing all the meta ads right now? Or are you the face of it?
Just, I'd say probably half of them.
Okay.
We hire UGC creators. My ads usually are the best performing, and I think there's something about being the founder is like you just have the most conviction, and people can sense that.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. And then I think just being a doctor also gives you credibility. And I say this like my degree didn't go to complete waste, the $400,000 degree.
Yeah.
It's like now it helps me, build trust with our audience, and that's worth something.
All right, let's talk about weaknesses.
Weaknesses. I want to say we don't have weaknesses, but of course we do. I'd say areas that we're improving are sales and getting better at having a strong sales team.
Like closing people from the ads.
Yeah.
Because it's all calls. Like they book a call.
Yeah. So they book a call with we call it our admissions team. And so there's a qualification call that's about 30 minutes. And so that's the first kind of experience someone has with MatchDay, 30-minute call. Right now we have 4 full-time setters. So they're available for the calls. They're the first kind of like interaction someone has with MatchDay. And so we make sure we have a good first impression, but also we're qualifying, making sure this person is the right fit for us. We're a good fit for them. And they're also financially qualified, so we're not wasting their time or our time. And then we have the team that's like our closing team or admissions closers. And they are really closing the deals and bringing in the revenue.
Are these international contractors?
They're all U.S.-based.
They're all U.S.-based that are doing that. Does that get expensive?
No, they're all commission-based.
Commission-based.
Our set team gets a base. Our closers are all commission-based, and they do really well.
Take a second to like walk through what that setup is like. Do you consider those people team members, or are they kind of like, how does that work?
I consider them a core part of our team.
Okay.
Yeah, because sales, and I think this is where a lot of people, I've seen like people outsource sales, and I think that's a terrible idea. Sales is part of our culture because it's like the professionalism. It's like, if you have a lousy salesperson and they're not showing up professionally and they're talking to your customers or not handling things appropriately, it makes your whole business look bad. So I consider them like an integral part of our team. I meet with them weekly, always, going through coaching exercises or whatever. But we also have a sales manager. But to break it down, we have setters. And so these are the people setting the closing appointments. They're doing the 30-minute calls, and we pay them a base. So they get a flat base. It's $1,500 a month. And then they earn a commission of could be between 5 and 7% per deal. And their OTE, is around $4,000 to $7,000 a month.
And that was included in your customer acquisition cost. So it's the paid ads and the cost of the commission of the sales.
Not in our customer acquisition cost.
Oh, no. So customer acquisition cost was just the paid ads?
Just the paid ads, yeah. Sales is 20% of gross revenue. So that's a big line item.
Why commission-based for sales? Why not just hire a full-time salesperson that does everything?
I think the industry, and I think a lot of people maybe know this, is like high ticket coaching industry. I had to
Yeah.
get sales industry. There's like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Shelby
I
Sapp.
do, yeah.
So there's a lot of people promoting this now, and the whole industry is kind of trained on just being commission based. And for them, it's like they're able to make higher salaries if they're really good. And so most of them don't really want to be
Like
salaried or anything like that. They want to work on commission
Okay.
because it also gives them, they also make more money doing it that way.
Okay, so that's a huge chunk of your cost is actually the sales and the commission that goes to the sales team. Now, what about the weakness of it being like coaches? Do you feel like that's scalable?
I do feel like it's scalable. I feel like we could grow to, I think we could easily get to $1 million to $2 million a month business. I do think that's on the horizon for us. It might take us, another 2 or 3 years to get there. But I think we've set up the systems now to be able to scale. And so on the fulfillment side, like we definitely can scale. It's just a matter of having the right quality people and then having the right leadership in place to scale that team. So I'm not doing it. Obviously, our program director does all the hiring, all the quality assurance. And when you hire really good people, you can scale. So that's just number one is like hire good people.
Yeah, and you have a good program. You said you spent a lot of time on the program.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a lot of systems in place on the fulfillment side. I'd say the bigger issue for scaling is just keeping our customer acquisition costs down.
And then like we talked about increasing like what are the other offers so that you can increase lifetime value of your customers?
Yeah, so
or just get more customers. Like have such a big volume that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, my dream is, for healthcare professionals is we can help them through the lifetime of their journey. And I think about it in a couple ways. One, everybody in healthcare has student loan debt. So I think about how can we help them with coaching, handle their student loans, strategize, have financial advisement.
That's a great idea.
After they actually, land the job and are thinking about, okay, now how do I structure the rest of my life and career and financial responsibility? So that's something that I'm thinking about is like, how do we layer on services? Because what's unique about us is when someone comes in and works with us, the amount of trust and rapport that they have with their coach is actually just phenomenal. Like they want to go work with that coach forever. They want to be best friends with that coach. They really have a lot of respect for them. And that gives us kind of a privilege because now we have that relationship with them. And because we delivered such an exceptional experience, because we helped them get that next job, they're going to trust us when we say, hey, we've got another program here. We can help you with your student loans. We can help you with, whatever it is. It could even be life insurance and disability.
What about like just life coaching? Like, hey, now that you got a job, like you can continue on with like monthly life coaching or something. I don't know. I don't know if you need certain qualifications for that, but
we've thought about it. Right now, it's so we do like a 3-month extension for fellows if they want to do that at a like discounted price.
If they didn't get a job yet.
If they didn't get a job yet, we'll do like a 3-month extension at like a very highly discounted price, just to make sure we're supporting them until they get the job. And then we do offer a la carte as well for fellows that graduate. So after they finish the program, they can always book again with their coach for like one-off sessions, for promotions, things like that. They're always able to do that. So we do also generate a little bit of revenue that way as well, just now that we have more alumni. But I think there's still also a lot more opportunity where we can take that trust that we've built and provide more value for our customers.
How about the opportunities? Do you ever think about expanding beyond healthcare or like what are the different opportunities that you're thinking about?
I think health tech is such a big opportunity, such a big industry. And our advantage is that we're so niche. I feel like, really there's 10 million healthcare professionals. That's kind of how I think about our TAM. And what can we do to help more of them? The reason I started MatchDay, like my mission, what really drives me right now, it's actually just helping people get that spark back. Because so many healthcare professionals, if you've seen them after a shift or even day to day,
they're just exhausted and miserable.
And, they just look deprived of life.
And
and
tired.
I want people to have that kind of spark back in their life where they don't feel drained and hopeless and defeated. It's like they can show up and be present at home, be present with their families, be present in their communities.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do that through helping them with their careers. That's one way to do it. There's probably lots of other ways too. But, thinking about really the core demographic of healthcare professionals, that's who we want to serve, and thinking about more ways we can do that.
So opportunities, your podcast, are you putting out new episodes or what's going on?
Very minimally. That's something we want to do more of for sure. And I think it's I think maybe even just having on guests that have made the pivot or who are doing the next thing, I think that's our big next opportunity.
It is, because you could probably get so many leads from the podcast from professionals that are interested in that kind of stuff. And it doesn't even have to be a huge audience,
Totally.
because it could just be like your exact target audience. Okay, for threats, any competitors that you're worried about? Does AI threaten you in any way?
I don't really look at our competitors, honestly. I just try not to pay attention. I think I see it in the sense that it's a good sign when I start to see competitors. When we started doing this, this model of MatchDay 2 years ago, there's no one doing it. But I've started to see independent career coaches pop up, talking about this, posting more on social media. And actually, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, because you could just take their followers.
Well, they create more brand awareness about the non-clinical career pivot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's great. I don't think for me, philosophically, I just don't believe in focusing on my competitors. I just think if we just do what we do, the more the merrier. They can have a piece of the pie too if they want.
Any other threats that you can think of?
There's always the threats you have to be thinking about as a business owner. And you have to be a little paranoid.
Yeah.
Of what could potentially put us out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And so Meta going down, that could be a huge threat because we have had a reliance on Meta ads. And I think a lot of coaches and businesses like ours rely on Meta. And that's why we've invested heavily in building more organic presence.
I was going to say.
A referral system, ways that we don't have to have that reliance. And then just kind of the general economy, $6,000 is an investment for a lot of people when the economy is good.
Mm-hmm.
People are willing to invest in themselves to further their careers and growth. I think we're in a fairly safe industry because our demographic is healthcare, and that's a stable field. It doesn't really, it's recession-proof in a sense.
Yep.
And so I think we're okay there. But as a business owner, you just have to always be thinking about what things could hurt your business and be life-threatening for your business. And I'm always keeping an eye out for those things.
Some of the ways that you failed, because the best way to learn, guys, is from other people's failures. And I feel like we've learned so much in this interview already. But what was the biggest product or platform mistake inside of MatchDay? What's the biggest mistake that you with your product?
Spending money on an agency to build us tech. Horrible use of funds, horrible decision. Should have never done that.
You're not in the tech business, right? So you basically entered into the tech business instead of just focusing on your core thing, which was coaching. And there's so many different platforms out there that are specifically designed for coaching services.
Yeah.
So what was your worst hiring decision?
Worst hiring decision? Think about that because
You feel like that's been strong?
I feel like that's been pretty strong. We're really good at hiring, and I think we let people go really quickly if it's obvious they're not a good fit.
That's good.
I don't think I've had too many bad hires. Maybe on the sales side, we have had bad sales hires.
Okay.
And that was because we had a bad sales manager at the time. When you have C+ people or C people.
Yeah, they're going to hire
other bad people. And they're
one of the
bad
biggest
hire.
mistakes I did early on. So when I first started my social media podcast agency, it blew up right away. Month one, and we were making 6 figures. And I had essentially a team of interns. I didn't even have I was still working a full-time job at Disney, and I had a team of interns, and I was letting the interns, this is a long time ago. I was letting the interns hire people, or maybe we had just started paying people, and I was letting those first employees hire people without me even interviewing them. And then suddenly we had these horrible people on the team. And that was a big mistake. And then I was okay, I have to do all the hiring interviews. Like, no matter how, now, I've got people I trust, but back then it's like, you got to make your first hires.
Definitely.
Yeah. What cost did you underestimate the most?
I think the cost of entrepreneurship. Like, you never really know what it's going to take to be an entrepreneur until you do it. And, I work 100 hours a week. I thought I was working a lot in residency, but like I'm always in the business. I'm always got a pulse on it. It doesn't feel like work to me because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so it's easy in a sense, but I work a lot.
It'll get better.
But yeah, so that's there has been definitely the scares and the mental cost, because to get it to the point where you're like outside of liftoff, like you've reached escape velocity, you just have to like pour so much into it. And I feel like we're just getting at that point where we're reaching escape velocity, and I'm able to like take a breath now. But it did take a lot to get it to that point.
What decision did you make too slowly?
Firing toxic people. Yeah.
I thought you just said you fire really quick.
And I do now.
You do now.
Yeah,
lesson learned.
I do now.
Yeah.
There's, maybe only like 2 scenarios where there was someone where I should have let them go sooner. And not because they weren't they were excellent operators, but they weren't good team players. They didn't have the right attitude. People were afraid to go to them for things or weren't very approachable. And it just ruins the dynamic, and it creates stress for you and other people. And so like if you have people like that on your team, even if they're amazing, you just got to let them go.
What's a founder habit that you think is holding MatchDay back?
Not doing enough content.
Yeah, you got to do more content.
Yeah.
You started out in podcasting in 2017. Your podcast could be huge right now if you were just consistent, right?
100%.
So just get back to it. Start guesting on podcasts, start doing your podcast, start chopping up clips from your podcast, blowing it up.
Well,
that's what you got to do.
That's a really good point. And I don't know what it is like about just becoming an entrepreneur that just made me so much more introverted, because I'm so in the business talking to people all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like getting on camera. And it's also like you have to switch your brain a little bit.
Yeah. And back when you were doing your podcast, was it audio only?
It was audio only, yeah.
Now it's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's a different world getting on camera.
It is.
Yeah.
But you can do it. I believe in you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if somebody wants to copy this business, any ideas of like people who are tuning in? Obviously not specifically your idea, but lots of people do career pivots and lots of people need new careers.
Yeah.
What are some ideas that you have for people or advice on how to copy your business?
Yeah, I would say, anytime you start a business, like the more authentic it is to you, the better that business is going to be. And so everybody has a story. Everyone has something that's happened in their life that they've overcome, that they've faced as a challenge, and they've learned how to navigate that. So in the coaching space, if you were to want to become a coach, if that's in what you want to be, you can build a business around that. You can help someone overcome a very specific challenge that you know better than most people. And so I would say for one is just be honest with yourself. Like, don't fall in love with some solution because you think it's cool.
Yeah.
Fall in love with the problem.
Yep.
And that was the first mistake I made as an entrepreneur, is I fell in love with a solution that wasn't even really for me.
Yeah.
And when I came back to my roots and I went back to like integrity for me, everything fell into place. And so I really believe this is like the world's trying to unfold for you and it's like swimming downstream. You just have to let go and be in integrity and do the thing that feels right. And you can build a business out of that. Like I don't believe in like the world where you have to be icky or do the wrong things to be successful anymore. I think you can be in integrity and do something that is right for you and make a very successful business out of it.
That's beautiful. Well, Rami, thank you so much for joining us on How We Profit. This was such an amazing conversation.
Thank you so much, Hala.
And that's how Rami and MatchDay profit. Every business has a hidden engine, and today we learned that MatchDay is not simply selling career advice. It's selling transformation, a structured path for healthcare professionals who feel stuck in clinical practice and need the guidance, accountability, and network to move toward a new career with greater clarity and confidence. Thanks for listening to How We Profit Wednesdays, the Young and Profiting series where real entrepreneurs share real numbers, real margins, and the real story of how their businesses actually work. I'm Hala, and I'll see you next time.